live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. We hope that you are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. It is cold. It is still cold out here. If you want to know how cold it is, I'm trying not to show off my, nipple area because it's cold up in here. It's going to be a fun show, though. It's going to be a fun show. I hope everyone's doing well during this downtime. John Ditch, my good man, says, my dog, what's up, John? Sam Bacon, the Baconator, says, let's go. Shannon Williams on Facebook Live says, hello, everyone. And Ryan Guidry says, we are live. Yes, we are. Man, I got to get better I'm trying some new things behind the scenes to make the show better. But every single time, man, I butcher them. Like I just some new things, like what I'm doing right now, like what I'm doing exactly right now. Like you just heard an echo. I got to get better with that. Josh Rogers says, "My man Blake, hell yeah." By the way, let's see. I'll mention that later on. Barrett Granger says, "Gonna suck at 8 a.m. Got to go to my doctor's appointment." Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that, man. Sorry to hear about that. Shannon says we have 9 inches of snow up here in West St. Louis. God bless y'all's soul, man. I do not do well in the ice and snow. Maybe because I'm just not accustomed to it. Just not accustomed to it. Stephen Miller, our good friend, says, yo, let's get it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Blaine Smith, I saw this, said 25th anniversary of Happy Gilmore. Yeah, I saw that too. All right, so let's get started. We do have a good show in store for you. Ed Orgeron talked today. He gave some offseason updates. I might put in a little Ruffino's rant here, and especially some of the people that were in the comments today, and at least in my comments today. Like, there's some stuff I got to get off my chest, and I know that you guys feel the same way. I know a lot of you feel the same way. So we're going to talk about this Coach Ed Orgeron update. Nothing bad that Coach O said, but just an update. As always, hashtag Ask Blake. And Mac Jones, the Alabama quarterback, is he gearing up? And what some people believe looks like he might come to the Saints now that Drew Brees is going to be more than likely retiring. Tim Graves on Facebook Live, he says, my man Blake. What's up, Tim? I hope you had a great birthday, man. I saw you had a birthday the other day. One of my old classmates. I hope you had a good one, brother. Derek Gordon on Facebook Live says, recovering from COVID, man. Miss listening to the show. Still waiting on my AYS shirt. Okay, we'll get you a shirt, Derek. We'll get you a shirt. The website's been down the last couple of weeks. We're doing some things behind the scenes to get that going. But I'm hopefully you're feeling better from the COVID. All right, but before we get started with the show, everyone that is joining us, if it's your first time, my name is Blake Ruffino. We are going to be doing another YouTube giveaway for every subscriber. So I guess you could do it now, but I would hope that you would do it after the show. I need everybody to go to our YouTube channel, every listener on our podcast, everyone that's watching the show currently live or after, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe as we are on our way to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting close to only needing about 300 more to get monetized. We're something big that we're trying to do on YouTube. So we're looking forward to that, and we have a great show in store for you tonight. Also, everyone that's listening on the podcast, we like to thank our very good partners over at Believe Podcast and our good sponsors over at eBay that powers our podcast every single Monday through Thursday. But you know who else is great? Our good friends over at GM Varnado & Sons. GM Varnado & Sons has faithfully been serving your Denham Springs and Baton Rouge area for over 62 years. With their highly trained technicians, there's absolutely nothing that they can't do. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire repair, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you by. And go see. And look, after this winter storm, you're going to need my call. You're going to need to call my good friend, Mr. Richie Roche over at Roche's Lawn and Landscape. Give him a call. Set up an appointment. He will get out to you as soon as possible. 225-937-7220. That's 225-937-7220. If you want the best looking yard in your neighborhood, he damn sure can provide that for you. That's 225-937-7220. Tell him Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you by. Okay, we will do the Ask Blake We will do those as we go on. I got a little something I want to get off my chest about Coach Ed Orgeron and some things that were going on today. We will get to the Ask Blakes. Adam Contreras says, "What's up, brother? What's going on, man?" Ed Orgeron went on off the bench with I was going to say Jordy Culotta and T-Bob Hebert, but it's not Jordy Culotta. It's Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert, and he gave us an off-season update. Now, here's some positives that we should expect about this update, what Coach Ed Orgeron said. Number one, and the feeling theme from not just coaches and the energy in that building that you can see flowing out of Ed Orgeron, but from the players as well, is that offensive coordinator Jake Peets and passing game coordinator DJ Mangus have been doing a lot of great things for this LSU team, right? You can feel, you just see the energy, you feel the energy. It gets you excited about what's going to be happening this upcoming fall. But there are some things that, quite honestly, and we're not going to know this answer probably until mid-August, and I don't anticipate it being sooner, is about the quarterback position. And Ed Orgeron talked about that today. And I am not calling anybody out when I say this. So this might be the Ruffino's rant here. I do not want to call anybody out. I'm not saying anybody's a liar. I'm not saying that anybody is trying to push a false narrative, so to speak. But you have 4 quarterbacks in that QB room for LSU. You have Max Johnson, you have TJ Finley, you have Miles Brennan, and you have Garrett Nussmeier. Now, there are some people pushing out, right, wrong, or indifferent, that Miles Brennan is 225 plus pounds. Let me make this very clear. If he is, it's not good weight. So Ed Orgeron a week ago said, and I'm quoting here, said, if we had a game today, I think that Miles Brennan could suit up. So a guy that has not been able to work out for God knows how long is now all of a sudden could suit up, all of a sudden goes from 215 to 225 plus. I don't buy that. And quite honestly, I'm kind of tired of hearing about this kid's weight. Here's where the big Ruffino's rant comes in, and then we'll get to some comments and Ask Blake's here. Here's where the Ruffino's rant comes in. We all assume, and maybe rightfully so, that Max Johnson is going to be your starter. He had 2 great games at the end of the season against a very, and I'm being very gracious when I say this, below average Ole Miss team defensively, and a Florida team that struggled defensively all season long. He looked really good. I can't take it away from him. I'm not going to sit here and say that Max Johnson should not be the starter going into fall for LSU. What I am going to say is that there is an open competition, and I fully believe that we should kind of take a step back and let this thing work itself out. I said this last night, and the comments continue to go on, not just on Facebook, but on Twitter, YouTube, wherever they were, that everybody is writing off TJ Finley. And everyone is kind of somewhat a little bit writing off Max Johnson because Miles Brennan's back. And this is not a Miles Brennan beat down fest. But at some point, we have to stop pushing a narrative of what the quarterback room looks like. That's what we did under Les Miles. Hey, Brandon Harris looks fantastic. No, he never looked fantastic. You have competition in that room. You don't have to talk about it. Also, in the beginning of the show, there was a comment that a kind of not insulting comment about former head coach Les Miles. Why does that even need to come up right now? LSU went 5-5 last year. No one gives 2 Rudy Poos what happened to Les Miles last season because LSU went 5-5. It does not matter what anybody else does. What only matters is what you do on the field. So this false narrative that you want to continue to push out, stop, man. It's not helping anybody. Also, Ed Orgeron said last season, now this is where I will get on Ed Orgeron a little bit. Ed Orgeron took a slide, kind of a, I don't want to say a punch at Dave Aranda, but somewhat kind of a punch when he said this defense looks better this year, meaning in 2020, than it all did in all of 2019. We know that to be a lie. And Ed Orgeron said that again today, that this offense is more multiple than in any time it was last season. Really? Now, Ed Orgeron is not a liar. He does not lie to us. When he tells you something, he fully believes it. But don't let history repeat itself. To the fans, if we're going to write off TJ Finley, because he sucked, guys, he didn't have an offseason. He was a true freshman. And quite honestly, like I mentioned last night, and like you heard in the opening, 2 true freshmen have more wins as starters at LSU than Miles Brennan does. So to think that he's going to waltz in there and this is not an open competition is absolutely absurd. Anyway. Barrett Granger says, Blake, get him. Well, we'll see. Stephen Miller says, ask Blake. Today, LSU Hoops was listed as an 8 seed in the bracketology. What do they need to do to stay away from that vaunted 8-9 line other than winning out? Well, Stephen, I don't know what they can do other than winning out. I think they have to win out. The best win that they have came this Saturday against Tennessee. They're going to have to win out, and I think that they'd have to win the tournament or go deep in it. That's just my opinion. I don't see another scenario where they don't do that. Steven also says, tell your mama and them to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. You're damn right. Let's see how many we're far away. We're not that far away. I think we're closing in on 300 that we need for the 1,000. So that's our goal. We will be doing another YouTube giveaway, though. I'm thinking about giving Stone Cold Cash. What my thought has been, and let me know if you guys like this or not, and girls, if you like this or not. We're thinking about, for every subscriber, I'll put $1 up in a bucket. And at the end of a month or however long we want to do it, at the end of that month, we will just draw who wins the cash. We're thinking about doing maybe a sack of crawfish along with it as well. So cash and a sack of crawfish. Let me know what you guys think about that. And everybody, all subscribers will be able to do that. But we need all the subscribers to help us push that out. Mark says, I say Brennan with Max as backup and regularly used in goal line situations. Mark, I'm not going to dispute Miles Brennan. I'm not going to say that he should not be the starting quarterback. I think that he has a lot of great tools. I think he has a good arm. I think he could be accurate at times where he knows where he's going with the football, as most young quarterbacks are. The thing with Miles Brennan is, can he stay healthy? And this narrative that LSU is pushing out about Miles and really about anybody, this isn't just a Miles Brennan thing that LSU is pushing out. We have to make sure, and he has to make sure, that he's ready to go and that he's not hurt. 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, the kid's been hurt at some point in the season. And I understand that you get nicks and bruises. That's not what I'm saying. I understand that you get nicks and bruises throughout the season, but when you're missing multiple games because of injury, that is a cause for a concern. Blake Schilling says, I'm riding with Max Johnson. TJ looked good against ... Vandy. Well, he didn't play against Vandy. He played against every team that LSU played last season. In that 5 games, those were the best defenses that LSU faced all season long. In those 5 games that TJ did start. So, look, you can throw Texas A&M in there as well. Tim Graves says, all facts, no lies. I really do feel that we need to give all 3 of these quarterbacks, and possibly 4, all of these quarterbacks a shot in open competition. Because the same thing that everybody's saying about TJ Finley, everything that everyone's saying about TJ Finley, we're going to talk about this a lot, but everything, you could almost say the same exact thing for Miles Brennan. And that's the point. The only one, and the one that has the most success so far on paper, more than Miles Brennan, is Max Johnson. Max Johnson is 2-0 as a starter, and he lit it up in both games that he played. That's just the truth. The simple fact that everyone needs to understand, and I don't think that people are going to agree with me on this, TJ Finley is a more accomplished quarterback than Miles Brennan at this point. That was a lie. What was a lie, Tim? What did I lie about? Let's see. My mother says I'm subscribed to your YouTube channel already under Tajon or Classroom Jules. Well, everyone needs to go subscribe. That's the goal. Because look, Twitter Periscope is going to be going away. They said that they're doing something else. Then we'll see. And Miles starts, the D gave up 40-plus points. And Miles' defense, I think is what Adam's saying, is the defense gave up 40-plus points. I understand what you're saying, but again, that's not the point here. I'm not disagreeing with Adam what you're saying at all. At all. Name a season he hasn't missed a game because he's been injured. You can't. Again, I don't want this to be a beatdown fest on Miles Brennan, but when you're constantly in the comments going down and saying it's Max or Miles and TJ just through the wind, don't even think about him, I think that you're sadly mistaken. I don't really think. I know that you are. Rodney says, I understand the games Max had, but his deep ball is not good, and Booty went next level. Yeah, he did. But you got to give Max, he's very mobile. He moves in the pocket well. He can get outside the pocket. He has a good game. It's an open competition. But every LSU fan that thinks that it's Miles Brennan's job no matter what, you got to stop with that. And stop saying TJ Finley is bad. Kevin Hollingsworth on Facebook Live says, how do we fill the last scholarship spot? Kevin, that's a very interesting, or not just interesting, but it's a very good question. If it were me, I would want LSU to wait until after spring or maybe push it into August to use that last scholarship. That's my opinion. I don't know where they'll fill it. If you have an offensive lineman, you can never use enough offensive linemen. I think they'll go on the defensive side of the ball. You can always use a lot of corners. You have a lot of corners, and so we'll go there. And look, they wanted Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones. They wanted Mike Jones, and Mike Jones wants to play inside linebacker. He wants to play the linebacker spot. They're going to give him a chance to go and do that. Chase Hoyt on YouTube says, Miles will transfer, in my opinion. Can't see him start another game at LSU. We'll take Max and TJ over Miles. I do want open competition, but see both beating Miles. I could see that. Josh Rogers says, you can't write off a player just because they didn't have a good year. Joe Burrow wasn't all that great, and then he exploded last year. Josh, that's a fantastic point. And look, he got beat out at Ohio State. And everybody wants to poo-poo on on Haskins, but he got beat out. Haskins had like 40-plus touchdowns that year that he beat Joe Burrow out in. So Tim Graves says, I'm headed over to YouTube. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. We are going to do, again, we're going to be doing the another giveaway. We're going to be doing the probably not confirmed yet, but we're going to be doing the cash all subscribers, maybe a sack of crawfish. Gator Man says, brother, slow down and take a drink. I would, but I will, but that's the energy people come in here for. I don't usually do this, but when I do. Juice Washington on Facebook Live says, ask Blake, who would you want to start at quarterback if you had your choice? I would keep it an open competition. And again, I'm not writing off Miles Brennan when I say this. I'm not writing off Miles Brennan at all. What I am saying is I think that it's a very big concern. Just a very big concern. And I think that everybody that's going in my comments, everybody that's going on Twitter and saying that it's not an open competition and it's Miles's spot is not only dead wrong, but deadly misinformed about what the realistic truth is. See, my point with all of this, Juice, is this. A lot of fans like to play the what if game. Well, if this would have happened, well, if Miles Brennan would have been starting this game, if Miles Brennan would have been here for this, we would have won. That's just not realistic. That's not what happened in the real world. In the real world, he got hurt against Missouri, could not play for the rest of the season. Now, there are some things, if you're going to play the what-if game, maybe LSU beats Texas A&M if Max Johnson comes in that game. Maybe. But this whole, if this would have happened, if that would have happened, if Miles Brennan wouldn't have gotten hurt, but he did. Well, if Torrey Carter wasn't in the game against Missouri, maybe we would have won, but he wasn't. We don't know that. Blake Schilling says if TJ starts and chokes, the fans are going to be brutal on him and Ed. Look, I'm going to beat this down until I'm black and blue in the face. He was a true freshman without an offseason. Well, Blake, what about Max Johnson? I get that. Look, I get it. And that's the reason why Max Johnson, a lot of people look and believe will be the starter to start the season. But hey, guys, don't have an offseason and go play football in the SEC and a 10-game SEC schedule. See how you will do. Hugh on Periscope says, let it play out, new coordinator and passing game coordinator. We'll see. We'll see. Corey Kaye says TJ needs a ton of work. Does he? I mean, a lot of the things that he did was fixable. I'm not going to go there. There's a lot of people that need fixing. Not just him. Kevin Hollingsworth says, did we fill the last scholarship spot out yet? No, we have not. Starkey says 1,100 plus yards and 11 TDs in 3 games. If I believe Brennan is healthy, he will win the job. Starkey, the problem with that, though, is the problem is that he hasn't been. And yards and touchdowns mean nothing when you are getting beat. They mean nothing. We can blame the defense. We can blame everybody else. But at some point, look, I'm just throwing this out there. The defense didn't go 1 of 12 or 0 of 10 on third down against Mississippi State and Missouri. Just let it be known. Let's let it be known. Again, it's making it seem like we're making it seem like, or I'm making it seem like I'm bashing on Miles. I'm not. I think that he does have the ability. Let me go back to Starkey's comment here. I think he does have the ability to go in here and win the job. I do believe that. Again, the concern is that everybody says without a shadow of a doubt that it's not an open competition. That's not the truth. That's not even close to being the truth. Stephen Miller says, make this point to him, Blake, about which quarterbacks will obviously look better in practice, but doesn't 100% equate to being great in the games. And what Steven's alluding to here, TJ will look better in practice because he's not getting hit. He's throwing it to the wide receivers, and so will Miles Brennan. But I think that Max Johnson does give you another ability with his legs that is going to be is where he can separate himself, from the other two. We saw it in the last 2 games. Ask Florida about that. Corey Kaye says that new hybrid safety going to be legit. Corey, I'm going to leave that. A lot of people need work. I'm just going to leave it like that. Rick Boone says it's got to be an open competition. They all show flashes of being good. I can agree with that. Blah, 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 blah. Starkey says to Stephen Miller on Facebook Live, I still believe Brennan will be the guy if he's healthy and ready to go. Again, that's the ultimate question. Fire all some questions in this hashtag Ask Blake. I'll put it back in here for people that are just joining us, and because I see a couple of people on YouTube just joining us. Mark says, Ask Blake, could there be a possibility that you may be Hanny's new co-host? I have no idea. You guys, look, this is how this kind of game works. I'm just going to be honest. Y'all have to hit up the people there. You have to tell them what you want. If you want me there, tell them, because they ain't going to listen in for me. Richard says, watching from New Iberia. I appreciate that, Richard. How y'all doing over there in New Iberia? Let me know. How is everybody doing? Let me know. Everybody doing good tonight? I mean, I know the weather's been bad. So let me know how y'all doing. Corey Kaye says, Ask Blake, tell me what you think about the defensive backfield. Corey, I think quite honestly, the safeties need help in space. I think guys like a Todd Harris needs to be better at his angles, needs to be better tackling. I think that, let's just call it what it is. Derek Stingley Jr. was injured last year, had some moments here and there, didn't play against Mississippi State, had some really down games like against Devontae Smith in Alabama. But I think that they're bringing a lot of experience back. You got Jay Ward, Cordell Flott, a lot of experience, but I think that the safeties need a lot of help. And I don't mean that in a wrong way or indifferent way, but if you look at the defensive backfield for LSU, you bring two corners that look really good. Look, Elias Ricks did a lot of great things last year. Hopefully, when he does have an interception and a pick six, he doesn't do those antics because you don't want him to get flagged. And if you think that the SEC and the SEC officials and referees are not going to be looking out for what he did last season, then you're sadly mistaken. I think you have two of the probably the best corner duo in the country when it comes to Elias Ricks and Derek Stingley Jr. Who will play in the nickel is going to be a big question. Does a guy like Sage Ryan come in? Can he make a big enough leap to play in that nickel position? Because a lot of teams like to target their better wide receivers out of the slot. Devontae Smith, we saw do that a lot. Jalen Waddle, Justin Jefferson. We see a lot of great receivers lining up in the slot. I think from a defensive backfield perspective, the safeties need the biggest work. Todd Harris, Mo Hampton, Jordan Tolles, who we didn't see a lot of, but we did see some. A lot of those guys need some work. And that's what I think. A lot of the guys need work. As Barrett says, ask Blake, if the what ifs were a fifth, we'd all be drunk. If a frog had wings, we wouldn't bump its butt every time it hopped. True. Very true. Wade says on Facebook Live, Pete spoke well about TJ has the Cam Newton body type. He does, and I can tell you that I know for a pretty damn good certainty, wink, 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 hint, hint, they like TJ a lot. But again, the false narrative that's being pushed out is not doing anybody favors. Mark LaGrange on Facebook Live says the if game was played when we speculated that if Finley had played the lesser defense that Johnson played against. True. Very true. Rodney on YouTube says, I think TJ has all the tools to run this RPU offense because he can make every throw. Plus his mobility will be better because of his weight loss. And let me say this very, very, just to back Rodney's point here. I saw him this weekend. He looks very he looks good. Let me just say it like that. Pete and DJ will be a big difference in TJ's development. I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Josh says, ask Blake, no whiskey tonight? No, man. No whiskey tonight. Can't do it. Brandon on YouTube says, which freshman player are you interested to see play for LSU next year? I'm interested. We just talked about this with Corey Kaye in the comments earlier. I am very interested to see what these defensive backs that LSU brought in, especially the safeties, Derek Davis, Sage Ryan, what they can do. Can they, how do I want to say this? Can they make that big leap and be starters? Can they be guys like a Grant Delpit or Derek Stingley? That remains to be seen. I want to see them. Mason Smith, I'm very interested in seeing what can he do against SEC offensive linemen and what does he look going into the season? The biggest number 0 we've ever seen. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Everyone that doesn't know, Mason Smith's wearing number 0. I'm really interested to see what he can do. There's a lot of guys that I'm looking forward to seeing. So if I had to just really think about it, those would be the ones. Mark says Max felt like he was – let me back up. Mark LaGrange on Facebook Live says Max felt like he also had separation in terms of quicker decision-making. I can agree with that. Tim Graves says Houston is bad, but still watching. I appreciate that, Tim. Yeah, I'm wondering how everybody's doing. Irish Bill, says chilly night over here on the Emerald Coast. I like Johnson as your starter this upcoming season. Appreciate that, Bill. Thanks for chiming in, man. Big Irish fan. We go on radio with them every Saturday morning. Love those guys. Steve Hernandez says, can't wait. It's going to be interesting. Spring, go Tigers. Look, I'm not big on a spring game. For people that are just tuning in and just watching this for the first time, I'm not huge on a spring game. I don't think it means everything, but it can tell you a lot. It can tell you a lot. For an example, and I'm not trying to throw this player on the bus, remember the spring game where Chris Curry went absolutely just teed off and looked fantastic, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't look good at all? How did that one pan out? Joe Burrow looked okay, didn't look great in the spring game. Going into 2019, how did that one pan out? But there are some times that you want to see some things and see some flashes, and I want to see what I really just want to see what the quarterbacks do. Jordan Wilkinson says, as Blake, number 2 wide receiver this year after Boutte, is it Coy Moore? I think that talking about open competition, the one that I'll very much be interested in watching is who's going to take that number 2 spot. You have a guy like Jeray Jenkins, who did a lot of good things last year. I think runs really great routes. Had a really good game against Florida, especially when Max came in. He targeted him. He was wide open. He's a great route runner, has a big body, can separate really well, has deceptively good speed. Can he make that jump to be your number 2? That would be it's very interesting to me. I think a lot of people are riding him out. Jeray Jenkins, I think, could be your number 2. Trey Palmer, Coy Moore are 2 guys that I think that will continue to fight it out. Trey, and look, I love Trey Palmer to death. He's got to get better with catching the football away from his body. Don't let it sink into his body. And Coy Moore, we saw do some good things last season. I don't know if they'll be number 2 or who it will be, but I would think just from what I saw and some of the good things we saw him do last year, and him just being a bigger body and being really good in times that we saw him would be Jeray Jenkins. I'm kind of high on that kid. I think he'll have a breakout season. Corey says, I agree with what you said on the DBs. Whole team needs work, bro. Just wanted your take. I know, but you know where I'm trying to get at with that. Ronnie says Sage Ryan will end up being one of your starting safeties. He has the ability. He certainly has the ability. John on Facebook Live, my good friend Mr. John Ditch, says, as Blake, it's also time to quote-unquote hit bombs. Are you ready for baseball too? You're damn skippy, John. You're damn skippy. I certainly am, man. I certainly am. It honestly can't get here fast enough. And you know, the thing about baseball for me, and I know it's been for everybody else, was the lack that we had of college baseball with the pandemic last year going into it. The anticipation is killing me a little bit. You know, like, come on, man, let's get it going. Let's get it going. And I want to see that pitching staff too. All right, let's get to a couple of our good friends and our good sponsors, and we'll get to some more of your comments. But look, I got to brag on my guy, Mr. John Patton over at Area Home Lending, always doing great things. You guys got to go see him. 225-663-2500. That's 225-663-2500. Go see him at Area Home Lending today. Send him an email at john@areahomelending.com. If you're thinking about buying a new home, saving money on the mortgage that you have now, or even doing that cash out refi, the timing has never been better. Get in touch with John today, like we mentioned just earlier, but again, at john@areahomelending.com, or go to areahomelending.com and tell him your good friend, Mr. Blake Ruffino at AYS, sent you on by. Let's see. Jordan Wilkinson says Deion Smith from MRA in Mississippi is special. Saw him live against Oak Forest. Looking forward to see him against the Tigers. Look, Deion Smith is a special athlete, the number 1 player coming out of the state of Mississippi. Another guy that I think if there is a freshman wide receiver that I could see making that jump and getting a lot of playing time would be him. Ed Orgeron talked very glowingly of this kid, saying that he, meaning Deion Smith, reminded him of Justin Jefferson, and we all remember how good Justin Jefferson was. I like that comparison. I think Ed Orgeron is dead on with that comparison. I am looking forward to seeing him too. Carl the Cat says, what's good, Blake? Tired of this weather. I am too. Kevin Hollinsworth on YouTube says, what do you think about Mike Jones and how he will impact? I don't know how he's going to impact due to the simple fact that Ed this morning said that he wants to move into inside linebacker. I'd like him playing in that nickel outside linebacker role. It's going to be interesting to see what he does now that he moves into inside linebacker. The guy's fast. He's skilled. He can tackle in space. I think that you add a guy that has a lot of game experience, a starter from Clemson, didn't work out for him at Clemson. He comes over to LSU. And I think that if anybody, I'm really interested to see what Mike Jones can do. Who? Mike Jones? I'm going to keep saying who. Brand says the linebackers need to do a better job of tackling in the open field next year also. With that being said, I mean, that's what Mike Jones can bring you into. Go look at the film. Go watch that Ohio State game. He was, even though the stats will not show you, he was all over the field in that Ohio State game. I thought he played fantastic. He had some plays where he missed, but you're asking a linebacker to cover a kid in the slot and a slot wide receiver. It's not going to be a good matchup, and he was right there with him. So I think Mike Jones can come in and do a lot of things. Gary Miller asked an interesting question on Facebook Live. He says, what's your thoughts on the running backs, Blake? Ty Davis-Price had the best season last year, and it's not even close. My thoughts is that John Emery needs to find his role and needs to find his footing very quickly. A former 5-star running back who has had his good moments against Alabama and has had his bad moments like he did at Missouri. I think you still split it up. I think you have Amari Goodwin out of Alabama, a former Auburn commit. I think that he's going to do some good things, and you have Corey Connor. I think that room, if you want to talk about depth, I think that room in and of itself is going to be just as special than anybody. All right, everybody joining the show, do us a favor by hitting the like and share it to some groups on Facebook, and hit that retweet for us as well. Brandon Reese says, ask Blake, either one of the quarterbacks can lead that offense. They all need to get better in terms of accuracy, though. I can see that. And I think that the quarterbacks need to do a better job at quicker decisions. Like Mark mentioned earlier, I think that Max did have a lot of success because he did make quicker decisions. You know, watching Miles Brennan last season, I thought that in watching him, I thought that he would make quicker decisions. I thought that he would know these defenses better, sitting behind a guy like Joe Burrow. But Max made much quicker decisions. Sean says, ask Blake, Vandy versus LSU series. Let's freaking go. I'm looking forward to that series. You got the Al Leiter's son, the leader kid, or however you say the last name. You have Cornwall Rocker going against Jane Hill, Marceau. I mean, that in and of itself is going to be like watching a Major League Baseball series coming into the box. That's going to be one hell of a series. I was looking at tickets for that series today, too. It was like $250 a ticket. We're going to need you dudes to subscribe to YouTube. That's all I'm saying. Mac Washington on YouTube says, what is your first 4 defensive linemen and your next 4 rotation guys? Well, let me write this down. That's a fantastic question. I want to write this down because I want to make sure that, let's see, you'd have Allie Gay at one defensive end. I think you'd have Glenn Logan. I think you have Jaquelin Roy that will start the other defensive tackle. And I think that either Ojulari or Andre Anthony, I'll put them 1-2, whatever. So you can, on one defensive end, you can rotate those two. It's going to be interesting who's the guy behind Ali Gay that's kind of wide open. I'm going to leave that one blank because I think that competition is just way too open. I think that you have Neil Farrell, who will be behind Glenn Logan, and then you will have a guy like Tank Guillory, who will be behind Jaquelin Roy along with Mason Smith. So those are the guys that I would see. I think you would like for a BJ Ojulari to be either go to either side of the defensive end position. Ali Gay, can he go to that side? He didn't play on that side. Andre Anthony to do the same. That would be the guys. I think Jaquelin Roy has to be a starter right now. What can Tank Guillory do? You have a lot of depth. You can rotate those guys in and out. So that's going to be very interesting to watch. I think the defensive line is the best group on this team. Not better than the wide receivers, but they will get a lot of the credit. I think from a depth and talent aspect, the defensive line is by far the best, especially with the freshmen that LSU just brought in. Juice Washington on Facebook Live says, ask Blake, when and at what position will we see Devontae Lee? Seems like they don't know where to play him. I'll have to do some digging, but I'm not sure, Juice, if we're being honest. He's played wide receiver. He's played linebacker. He's played tight end. He's played a lot of positions. If it were me, and I would have to dig on this a little bit, and it'll come into fruition. What does DJ Mangus want? DJ Mangus has a connection with Devontae Lee. Does he want Devontae Lee back under him? Mickey Joseph loves Devontae Lee, was his recruiting coordinator or was the guy that recruited him. Personally, and I could be dead wrong here. Personally, I think Devontae Lee is a defensive player. I'd like to see him on the defensive side of the football, but he has a lot of connection with those guys on the offensive side. Tim Graves says, I made it over to YouTube, bro. I appreciate that, Tim. I appreciate that. Everybody that's watching, don't do us a favor. Don't be a square. Hit that. Well, that doesn't rhyme. What's something that rhymes with subscribe? I don't know, but whatever does, everybody hit that subscribe button. Did y'all see this today? Daniel Jeremiah is saying that Mac Jones, former Alabama quarterback, is looking like that he will be drafted by the Saints. He's doing his mock draft, and he had at the 24 slot Mac Jones. Going to New Orleans Saints. Everybody's anticipating that Drew Brees will be retiring. I think it's all but I don't want to say a done deal, but we're all just anticipating it. I don't know how I feel about that. Mac Jones was a guy last season that didn't have a lot of pressure in his face, a guy that played with a really prolific offense, but so did Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow is a damn good quarterback. But I thought it was interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if the Saints will pull a trigger on a guy or do they stay with a guy like Jameis Winston. I think they have a lot of places that they need depth. Juice says, don't kill my vibe, like and subscribe. I like that. Wade says something similar. He says, get the vibe and subscribe. I like that. Y'all keep giving me some things, some stuff right there. Mark LaGrange says, if you prescribe, we'll subscribe. I like it. Ryan says he never got tested yet. See how he takes the pressure. Who are you talking about? I like this from Ramy. I like this. Join the tribe and subscribe. I like that one a lot. Okay, we might use that. Join the tribe and subscribe. Hopefully people don't think I'm running a cult over here, because some people think that I do. But we'll see. All right, guys, we're going to get on out of here, I guess. Hopefully, let's see. Ryan Jones says Mac Jones is sorry. A lot of people think that. We'll see if they draft him. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. We will be back tomorrow. We're trying to get some guests on. Everybody that you sent us a list for, everybody that you sent a list that you want on, I sent it to them. So we'll definitely see. All right, guys, my name is Blake Ruffino. Don't forget to vibe and subscribe to YouTube. We will see y'all tomorrow, knuckleheads. Have a good night.